Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are listening to this. So it's been a few weeks since I last checked in with you all and gave you the update. And today I wanted to really answer some of your questions. And the reason why this has come about is because in the last few weeks, I've given quite a few talks in different places. Shout out to the coaching directories. So we had about 700 people register for my Reclaim Your Money Power Masterclass. I've spoken at Business Women Unlimited. I have been into Claire Hill's No Rest for the Vivid business mastermind group. I also am speaking in Dr. Joe Watkins' group coming up in the next few weeks. And some things that I've seen is that there are some very common questions that I get asked about money mindset. And I want to just be clear that the way that I approach money is thinking of money as an entity, as an essence of being, rather than practical notes and coins. So, just before I dive into these questions, I just want to ask you, what does money mean for you? What is money to you? Because is it really about the money and coins? Is it about flow? Is it about energy for you? Is it about investing? Is it about buying things? Is it about income and having a lifestyle? Because ultimately, money is a means of value. When we buy something, we are simply exchanging something of value. And so if we think something is worth it, we're going to exchange our money for that thing. So, for example, let's say we have £100 and we really need a new pair of shoes, right? We can go and spend £100 on a pair of trainers, and equally, we can go and spend £500 on a pair of trainers. What's the difference? The pair of trainers that are £500 might have sustainability values. They might be made by a particular brand or a particular ambassador that we want to support, and we support their values. It might be that they are recycled, right? So there are many different reasons why, in some cases, we might choose to invest more on something, for example, the higher value pair of trainers, because we appreciate the value of the additional things, not just that material thing, right? So money is much deeper these days than just perhaps how in the 1600s people used to exchange money, and it was literally just an exchange of goods and services, because you would walk down the road and you would exchange your cow for someone else's cow, or some eggs or something that you needed, right? These days there are millions of people selling the same thing, and so what people are actually buying is an exchange of value. Even when we go to the supermarket, right? We choose whether we want to shop at Lidl or we choose whether we want to shop at M&S. Both provide the same loaf of bread, and I've spoken about this before, but we are buying into the quality of M&S. We are buying into the fact that they pay their staff a certain way, right? So there are subconscious reasons why we spend our money in the way that we do. And actually, I wasn't going to talk about this as a first question, but it's come to my mind. So we're going to follow the thought. But I actually spoke on Amy Atkinson's podcast, which was out last week, I believe. So if you're interested, you can go and listen to that. I'll tell you what it is called right now. She is called the Femtrepreneur, and her podcast is called, where is it? Oh, it just came up. Simply Digital Marketing. Simply Digital Marketing. So you can find that on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and you can just search my name and you will find the episode where we spoke about all things money. Now, one of the things that came up was actually around aligned spending. So I'm going to start with this question, but I also have a list of questions in front of me. So depending how long this takes, I might make this into two separate videos. But one of the questions she asked me was around spending money. And we were talking about how during COVID, people were stocking up and buying loads of toilet roll. We were buying things like foodstuffs and stocking up our cupboards because we all, no matter what money personality you are, and as you know, there are 8 different sacred money archetypes, which actually means there's 336 different combinations of money personality. We don't all deal with money in the same way. But what happened during COVID was some people, regardless of where they or how they perceived their relationship with money, went out and bought loads of things and started stocking the cupboards and hoarding everything, and stuff was just everywhere. And as a result of this, people weren't necessarily spending money in alignment with their values. And COVID gave us an opportunity to step back and say, actually, am I spending money in the way that really aligns with the kind of lifestyle that I want to create for myself? And COVID was a time where people were saving money a little bit more than they normally would because perhaps they weren't spending it on going out. The shops weren't open, so we couldn't go to the shops. We couldn't spend our money on things that we really, really enjoyed, like socializing, going to the theatre, going to the cinema, doing sports activities or Pilates classes or tap dancing or whatever thing lights you up, right? We didn't have those hobbies or communities that we could then spend our money. So what ended up happening was people were not able to save that money for various reasons. And one of those I'm going to speak to in the next question, which is an idea in Kabbalistic spirituality. But ultimately, what happened was people couldn't necessarily see or find a reason to save that money. And what ended up was they ended up spending it in other ways. And they ended up spending that more often than not in the supermarket or probably on Amazon because their warehouse was one of the few that was actually open and functioning as normal. And so we found ways to spend our money. And one of the things that Amy and I were talking about in her podcast was the misalignment between our spending and our partner's spending and how that actually manifests itself and how it makes us feel about how we spend our money. And so, one quick exercise that it could be really helpful for you if you are someone who's feeling like how you're spending money is not making you happy, like it's not bringing you joy, you're kind of feeling some guilt, some shame around it. Maybe you don't even want to look at your bank accounts. Maybe you don't want to look at a budget. The reason for that is because a budget feels quite restrictive. So something I would suggest is reframing it as a conscious spending plan. Money loves intention, and we need to tell money where to go, right? It's an exchange of value. We need to tell money what it is that we actually value, right? So what I mean by that is you can go through your conscious spending plan, and what that would look like is I typically suggest people to go over 3 months worth of personal expenses. So invariably about 50% of your expenses are going to be on, mortgage, rent, service charges, bills, gas, electric, water, council tax, etc., etc. Ideally, we want about 30% on your wants and 20% on your savings. Given the external influences right now, perhaps the split doesn't exactly look like that, which may mean that we need to increase your income to fund the lifestyle that you want. But first of all, we need to get aligned with this spending. So once you've listed out all of the things that you spend money on each month, on average, I want you to go through that list and use a traffic light system. So highlight anything in red that you don't like spending money on, that feels really bad for you. You're like, why am I even spending that? I don't even use that subscription service that I'm signed up to, or whatever reason you give yourself. Then you want to highlight in orange the things that are okay, that kind of bring you a little bit joy, but maybe you could spend a little bit less. Maybe you could spend a little bit more in those areas. And then I want you to highlight in green the things that you spend money on that you absolutely love. And by doing this, it will reveal where you're spending money on things that don't align with your highest good or your highest calling. And particularly for ruler and accumulator archetypes, what I notice is they actually struggle to spend money on things that bring them joy, to have more fun. And they are the savers, or I don't want to say hoarders, but I am an accumulator ruler maverick, as you guys know. But one of the things that comes up for accumulators and rulers is this idea that because they're always chasing more, there's that fear of scarcity that if we spend it, then we're not going to have more for the future. And so what happens is we're actually sacrificing our enjoyment in the now. And so by doing this budget, it's going to reveal for you where you are misaligned and what could be more aligned. So if, for example, you want to socialize more, maybe you need to shift some of your funds, which are being spent on stuff that's not bringing you joy, into things that increase your social life in some kind of way. Okay, so traffic light system, it's a very quick and easy method that you can have a look at. And if you are single, you can do this on your own. If you have a partner, you can both do this. And you could even match up at the end. Do we even have aligned spending habits? Do we even value the same things? And if you do, that might be great, or it might not be, because there might be other things that you want to be spending money on. Or you might reveal to yourselves, actually, we have completely different values, in which case that's okay. How do we then move forward from a place that feels more aligned for both of us? And by having that courageous money conversation, you're going to start opening up the possibilities whereby you can both live a life that feels more fulfilling and more satisfying. Now, I'm going to actually, considering I've been speaking for 10 minutes, I'm going to answer the first question that I got in the Reclaim Your Money Power training, because we have about 20 questions that came through, all very similar. And it also speaks to that point that I was just talking about, aligned spending, because the first question was, how about fear of losing all despite earning? So essentially, I was talking about this idea of the handbag lady syndrome, where we earn more money and it just kind of vanishes to like the bottom of the bag. And we're like, damn, I was hustling really hard for that. I worked really hard for that money, but it's just gone. And sometimes this is a conscious thing. And sometimes energetically, for reasons that we don't understand, we earn money and something happens in our lives and it does genuinely disappear. So, for example, we earn £2,500 and then the boiler breaks down and we have to spend exactly that amount of money on fixing our boiler. Or there's been times even in my life where this has happened, where I've made some money and then I needed to get tires replaced on my car. I've seen it many times. I've seen it with a client who actually increased their income, got a pay rise, got a new job, negotiated amazing, bought a new car, and then a few weeks later had a car crash. And everything is by design. Everything is here to reveal something to us. And as terrible and as traumatic as those experiences can be, we have to look at the bigger picture of why this happens to us. And so there's a concept in Kabbalistic spirituality, which some of you may know that I'm studying at the moment. I've been studying it since November, is this idea of the bread of shame. And I might have even read a chapter of this in one of my previous videos, but I want to just share with you this concept of the bread of shame because I think it's super, super important. So Kabbalistic spirituality basically says that inside of us, we all have a desire. We all have an innate desire to achieve something. In other words, to achieve our highest, greatest potential in this life. And that is what we call our light. Okay, so our light is the good, it's what we want to achieve in this light, and our desire itself is what they refer to as the vessel. Okay, so we have this desire, we want to earn X amount of money. For the sake of this, let's just say a random number, £50,000. And so our vessel is that desire, right? Now, the thing is, when we earn that money, if we don't feel worthy enough, or that we've done enough, or we feel fulfilled enough to have actually earned that money will disappear. And this is what they refer to as the bread of shame. So literally in a book that I'm reading at the moment, It says, a man forced to accept charity from others eats bread of shame because he has a deep-seated desire to earn the money needed to buy his own bread. He desperately longs to be in a situation where he can feed and support himself, not depend on the generosity of others. Bread of shame has undermined his sense of his own value of being able to contribute to this world. In other words, when we are given money or when we are in receipt of money, if we don't feel like we have given enough value for that amount, we will find a way to get rid of it. And you can think of this on a bigger scale of people that win the lottery and then they somehow find a way to get rid of all that money, to spend it all, to give it away to people, because overnight they've come into money and they don't feel responsible enough yet, or worthy enough, or deserving enough of that, having that money just yet. And so this is what we call the bread of shame. It's a very deep and complex concept. There are many, many layers to it, but I have introduced this or started to introduce this concept to some of my clients, and they've started to recognize how they haven't felt worthy enough in their own life of receiving, being in receipt of that money. And this is all to do with self-concept work. As you guys know, this is what we work through in my brand new program called Aligned in Abundance, the course. Actually, it's the second module. We do the I am money visualization, which completely shifts your relationship with money. It's literally where you imagine money out in front of you, and then you step into becoming that money, and you actually understand as money what you as a specific unique individual actually value, what you love about money, what you value about money. Okay, so it's all about shifting our perspective and our relationship with money. That is actually how we overcome this bread of shame without giving more, because it's very easy for us to think, well, we need to work harder, we need to do more. And often the energy of money is more about just letting go and trusting ourselves that, first of all, we are giving the value that is actually worth what we are providing, but more so than that, that we are the CEO, the entrepreneur, the business owner of our lives, who has agency to respect and value money and trust ourselves with money, that we are going to expand it in the right way. And in order for that to happen, there is a piece around financial education. So actually understanding the things that we weren't taught at school about how to invest money and actually expand it and make it into more and compound in interest on a practical level. So we're bringing down this idea of this bread of shame and actually going, right, what's the practicality of that? How do we actually become the person who's not now having this fear of losing it all, even though we're earning good money? So it's twofold. One of it is about expanding our own self-worth, understanding that we give amazing value. In our own minds, we have loads of limiting beliefs and negative thoughts about what we should be doing. And in all honesty, I used to have this about my business as well. I used to coach and I used to be like, is 6 coaching sessions enough, or should I be offering 10 coaching sessions? And actually, should I be offering homework in between sessions, or should I not be offering homework during sessions? Well, it's going to be more value if I do. But actually, now I've realized it's not more value, because it's not about doing more. And actually, the more we have to do, the more overwhelmed we feel, and then we never get the sense of completion. Psychologically, we need to feel the sense of completion so that we actually recognize that we are committing to ourselves, and the satisfaction we get from that is way more fulfilling than having a program with thousands of modules in it and never getting through it, because we never feel like we're actually completing anything. We're just jumping from one thing to another. Anyway, that's why I've made my Aligned in Abundance course so specific and a specific time frame, and it's self-led. So there are 6 modules within each. There's 2 to 3 exercises, and they are all things that you can complete, and they are all things that you can commit to and achieve. That is exactly the point. It's not about doing more. But what we do is we convince ourselves. And so we tell ourselves, actually, we need to do this or that or the other in order to earn more money. When in reality, we can already charge more for our services based on what we're already doing. It's just that we have some kind of subconscious limiting belief around that, which also we uncovered during the program. So, for example, you might be scared that someone is going to reject you or they're not going to love you anymore if you have more money. For example, family members, what are they going to think about you if you had more money, right? So, all of these subconscious things, subconscious limiting beliefs show up for us when we actually think about earning more money, but also being able and capable of keeping that money. And that might even include asserting boundaries with people who come on to us to loan money from us. We particularly for nurturers, maybe even connectors, you might find that you're the type of people that if someone is in trouble, you're going to be the first to help out, right? And so then there's the question, well, if I say no and I value myself and I don't want to lose that money anymore, and I need it to help support me and my family and whatever else, go on holiday, do the renovations, whatever else you want to spend that money on, right? We subconsciously block it. So in order to become that person, we need to assert those boundaries and tell people no. But what happens is that little voice in our head goes, well, we can't do that because then they're not going to like us anymore. They're going to judge us. They're going to think I'm really mean, So we make it mean something about us. But when we are financially responsible, you will not have the fear of losing it all because you will trust yourself deeply that you are making the right decisions with your finances. It's as simple as that. You will have the trust. And not only that, if you have a system in place, a blueprint that works with your archetypes, we're not talking about like a standardized system here. As much as there is a standardized system, cookie cutter approaches don't work for everyone. Mavericks, you will know that. So it's about finding ways that align with us, our sense of being, how we want to live our lives, how we want to move forward, and what kind of financial freedom is there for us. What does financial freedom look for us? So the question of how about fear of losing it all despite earning is a powerful question because it reflects this scarcity mindset. It reflects the scarcity mindset of loss, even when we're losing well. In other words, we already presume that that money is lost before we've even earned it. And so you can see, as we always say, everything is cause and effect. So if we think in our minds, I've already lost that money before we've earned it, we're going to subconsciously have a block, first of all, to earning that money, but second of all, feeling worthy enough of keeping it. And this is exactly what subconscious rewiring does in terms of helping us see the potential, feel more empowered with our finances when it comes to aligning ourselves with abundance. So I'm going to leave this video here, but I hope this has just been a little bit helpful for you. I do have another, I'm just skimming now, 20 odd questions that I could be answering. So I'm going to do another video answering some of your questions. And as always, because there's quite a lot of similar questions, if you do have a question that you want me to answer, then please do put it in the comments below, like, share, subscribe, as always. But then I'll be able to answer any specific questions that you have to help you move forward and create financial freedom with ease. And as I've mentioned, my Aligned in Abundance course is now open. I'm so excited. We already have people jumping in, which I haven't even really sent out an email about it. I haven't really spoken about it. But obviously I've mentioned it in a couple of talks that I've been doing recently, and the people that are jumping in are so excited and already seeing magical things from doing the I am money visualization, which is just one of two visualizations. There are so many exercises in there, breaking through money ceilings, increasing our worthiness to earn more, setting those boundaries, all of those things that kind of touched on in this video are in that program. So you can go and check that out. I'm going to put a link to it below. at the time of recording this video, there is an introductory offer on that course. And there's a beautiful community on the other side as well that we are just getting started building. And I know that if you're watching this, the reason why you're watching this is because you're someone who wants to create more abundance in your life. You want more financial freedom in your life. And so why not hang around with other people that want exactly the same thing rather than going online and seeing all the negative press that's out there at the moment, particularly as we are circulating right now, just before April the 4th, which is the start of the new tax year in the UK. So there's going to be some changes coming up. I will be talking about those after April the 4th when they have been announced. But for now, I hope you found this video useful. As always, if you have any questions, please do reach out to me, and I'll see you all in the next one.